In addition to introducing the iconic alien queen into the xenomorph life cycle, James Cameron's Aliens also saw the classic xenomorph design in a different form. The aliens, which inhabited LV-426, appeared different from the classic H.R. Giger design that was shown in the original 1979 film. Notably the head of the creature. As opposed to the smooth dome, the carapace of the xenomorph XX-121 appeared ridged, more defined, and armored. Is there a specific functional reason that explains this difference, beyond a creative and aesthetic choice on Cameron's part? After all, this ridged carapace is not a feature that came out of nowhere. When we look closer at the design in the 1979 film, and behind-the-scenes footage, we can see that beneath the smooth, partially translucent dome, that the hardened interior of the skull is indeed present. Are these warrior aliens missing an important feature that the Nostromo alien retained? Or is it that they discarded something unnecessary to best suit their overall survival? Most resources would generally agree that the xenomorph warrior is different because it is a further step forward in the alien life cycle. This change in their appearance and purpose occurs under a specific set of circumstances. Specifically, once a queen, a hive, and an appropriate amount of other xenomorph drones have already been established. The Alien RPG from Free League Publishing seems to align with this theory. It defines this version of the xenomorph as the Soldier, naming it the 5th stage in the life cycle after Egg, Facehugger, Chestburster, and Scout. Here's what it has to say. Romantically referred to as a warrior, a soldier xenomorph is the adult form of a drone. As the alien matures, the creature's dome loses its form and melds with the ridged tissues beneath it. The alien's head begins to polarize and harden, forming an armored carapace. Blades will begin to grow from the xenomorph's elbows, and its hands will mutate into 5-fingered claws, dropping the 6th digit. Blue-black in color, soldiers are nimble and attack en masse. The soldier's tail has a barb at the end of it with a toxin that can cause paralysis in most known life forms. Once incapacitated, the soldier will carry its prey back to the hive to be impregnated by a facehugger. The Weyland-Yutani report from Titan Books also makes distinctions of adult xenomorph types, naming different types such as worker, attendant, drone, and soldier. The text notes that it seems likely that each xenomorph caste has adapted to its specific role. In a visual representation of the soldier version, there's a specific description of the dome. Note the slightly smaller headcase of the adult drone seen on LV-426 in 2179. It is postulated that, with a queen to lead them, the drones needed less intellectual capacity than the single organism aboard the Nostromo. I don't think this would be to say that the soldier version isn't intelligent. We've seen evidence to the contrary. One is able to open up the doors to the dropship, they're able to cut the power of the complex and eventually find their way in. But the idea of a larger group of aliens requiring less individual intelligence because of the Queen is an interesting one, and you may begin to wonder if a single drone version may have been able to navigate the barricades and evade the sentry guns all on its own. But as we see, the greater numbers, along with the Hive and Queen, require the aliens' adaptation of heavier armor, including the ridged carapace. So does this theory of adaptation track with the movies we've seen post-Aliens 1986? It's a little bit difficult to grasp, since out of all the alien-related films released from then until now, only one other featured that ridged warrior design, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. We'll need to consider why this development didn't occur in other cases when it did in these specific two. A few factors may be involved, including time frame, the number of aliens involved, and even environment. In Aliens, by the time Ripley and the Marines land on LV-426, the alien infestation had already begun approximately 2 weeks prior, and there are approximately 150 aliens inhabiting the colony. A queen and a hive is present, and they are all warriors. Note that the chestburster we see, coming from one of the colonists from the hive, isn't born with a ridged dome. This suggests it would be something that develops later. With Alien 3, it's simple enough. It's one alien, and it's a slightly different alien born from a non-human host at that. While there is technically a queen, it hasn't been born yet. There would be no reason at this stage for it to develop further, though it would actually be interesting to see an armored warrior version of this particular alien. In Alien Resurrection, there is a queen, there is a hive that forms, and there are several aliens, 12 to begin with, but all have the smooth domes. It could be that they didn't have enough time to develop, or it could be that as clone xenomorphs, they're just inherently different. One very important detail to consider is that the life cycle of the alien changed because of the human DNA involved in the cloning, and the queen developed a reproductive system to give birth to the newborn instead of laying eggs. With Alien vs. Predator, we have the queen, we have the hive, but we are dealing with a limited number of aliens. Taking into account the initial hosts from the sacrificial chamber, the further hosts taken afterwards, and the number of aliens killed afterwards, we're really only dealing with no more than 6 living aliens at any given time. Added to that, they don't live all too long, a few hours at most. It seems there just must not have been enough time or number of aliens to warrant any kind of physical change. Alien Covenant is also pretty straightforward. 2 very young aliens, not alive at the same time, and certainly no Queen or Hive. Alien Romulus is a little curious. There is a great number of aliens. They had been present in the Romulus faction of Renaissance Station for at least a day before the young ragtag group of colonists decided to go on their salvage mission. The exact number is unclear, but judging from the amount Rain guns down in the zero-gravity sequence, it's larger than the total amount of aliens in Resurrection and in AVP. Some fans have even watched closely enough and determined the amount of aliens killed in that scene racked up to 15. The alien that grabs Rain at the lift and the Scorched xenomorph were not involved in this assault, and we can assume others weren't present either. It all depends on the exact number of hosts that were on Renaissance Station to begin with, which currently is not known. There was a Hive on the station, but no Queen, at least not one that we ever saw. So if there is a certain number or a certain elapsed time required for a warrior's development, none have come close to meeting the same criteria that James Cameron's Aliens did. That is, except for Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. When the Predator ship containing alien organisms crashes to Earth, it is during the daytime. That's when the first hosts are impregnated, and when the facehuggers spread into the sewers. The night passes into day, and the following night is when the conclusion takes place. So already this is a time span of about 36 hours or more. The setting is a small town in Colorado, Gunnison, a real town with a population of approximately 6,500. Not that the aliens got to them all, but they were certainly very busy. Hives were already being set up in the sewers, and then later in the hospital. There is no Queen, but there is the Pred alien, propagating the species in lieu of one. It has the special ability of impregnated women who are already pregnant with human babies, resulting in several alien bursters at one time. We see 2 instances of this impregnation method, the implication that it infected an entire maternity ward, and any number of possibilities taking place off-screen. So very easily, there already could have been hundreds of aliens in the town before it was nuked at the end. Over a day of infestation, Hive established a significant number of aliens, technically a Queen. Aliens vs. Predator Requiem seems to meet the criteria for an adult drone xenomorph developing into a warrior. While we can make decent enough in-universe justifications for these changes, there is always a real-world reasoning why the original Giger design was altered for the sequel. J.W. Rinsler's book, The Making of Aliens, a beautifully detailed account of the production, actually pinpoints the exact time when the decision was made to make these changes, from The Making of Aliens. In late July 1985, production issued a revised special photographic effects shots list, which totaled 85. Most of the on-set special effects shots would involve the alien warriors. Work on their 6 hero costumes continued at Pinewood, with Cameron and Winston making sure the suits were simpler and more flexible. The alien head in the first film, the translucent cowl covering the whole top of the head, was very smooth and looked like a porpoise back, Cameron said. Underneath was a skull shape and a rib design. We planned to do the same thing with ours, so Stan had Tom Woodruff sculpt up a big ribbed bone-like understructure that would be slightly visible through the cowl. When it was finished, they gave it a real nice paint job, and I thought it was more interesting. So we ditched the cowl and decided that this was just another generation of aliens slightly mutated. Jim requested we didn't put a dome on the head of the alien, Tom Woodruff said. He didn't want a nice, big, smooth surface that wouldn't really work with the harsh lighting he was choosing. He wanted to be able to see the shapes of the head underneath it as it moved between light and shadow. Additionally, in the documentary Superior Firepower, The Making of Aliens, Alec Gillis notes of the dome, Jim wanted to remove it. He was afraid of it cracking or having to be replaced. We'd have to cut and switch the dome. As for Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, well, maybe the directors just preferred that design. Thought it looked cooler, and didn't do too much deep thinking about the implications. But here we are. Still, it is interesting that out of all the Alien movies, only 2 have come with this design. That obviously doesn't include the many comics and video games that have continued on with that tradition, but all other reasoning failing, it seems most of the creatives seem to prefer that smooth design for the films. Do you have a preference? The smooth, dome design of the drone, or the ridged, armored warrior dome? Comment below and share your thoughts. As always, I'd like to thank you very much for watching today. Please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up with the latest videos. My very special thanks today goes out to Nicholas Butta, our Wayland Utani executive, and Gregory Ford, the Patreon Hive Praetorian. A very special thanks to Lady Anne in the Ellen Ripley Tier of Excellence. If you'd like to join the Hive and support the channel, check out my Patreon page for further information. In the meantime, you can follow me on social media. Follow @alien_theory on X, formerly Twitter. Follow @AlienTheoryYT on Facebook and Instagram for more. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.